Watch this. No way!
And welcome back to another episode of the Cookie Jar Golf Podcast. I am Tom Mills, and today I'm joined by Sam Williams.
Thomas.
And today we're not doing a Sam Plays Golf.
Tom played golf today.
Tom plays golf.
Prestwick.
For once.
I was absolutely
Gutted.
I would say Wednesday this week was the most gutting day I've ever known that you were doing that. And we were going to talk about it, but the 150th Open celebration, obviously the 1860 Open at Prestwick, the work they've done to build that 12-hole course as it was, I was absolutely gutted not to be joining you.
Just for full disclosure, if you cling on till the end of this podcast, we will be running through into a podcast that I did with Ken Goodwin and Dave Edmondson, Ken being the secretary of Prestwick Golf Club and Dave being the greenkeeper.
Festuca man. I think one of the greatest greenkeeper agronomical Twitter handles out there.
We have a chat about agronomy a bit. We have a chat about the work that they did to reinstate this wonderful golf course. But all that comes at the end, of course, and what we're going to be doing is talking about kind of my experiences of it, and then we'll roll into what the club did, I suppose.
So I know absolutely nothing about this, other than the fact I've come around to record a short bit of pod with you, and you've given me a very nice media pack. And firstly, before we dive into the course, can I say what a brilliant media pack that is?
Well, I thought I'd give you mine because you didn't get to go.
This is amazing. Like, the work that must have gone into putting this together is absolutely amazing.
So what have you got there? Let's.
So you got the little bag tag
visualize.
with the hole numbers around the side with the yardage, which, you know, can be a touch gimmicky when there's 18, but seems to flow nicely with 12.
Looks like a clock with 12, doesn't it?
There's a proper legit stroke saver for a 12-hole course.
Which, just shout out Prestwick. I believe you can buy it on their online shop.
You should 100% buy this. If that's 5, 10, 20 quid, it doesn't matter. You should definitely
quid on their online shop.
Right, you should buy that in a heartbeat. It's a proper
It's
stroke
a full-on
saver.
stroke saver.
It's not a DIY job. That's what you would get if you stood on the first tee at Carnoustie. There's a really nice pamphlet detailing the 150th celebrations. I'm trying to move the pace.
I don't know whether I gave you an original scorecard because I used it, but we got given original scorecards too with a bogey score on stuff.
Nice little sort of condensed, almost little coffee table style book. Again, beautifully put together. I'm guessing people like Jamie Darling will have been involved, and maybe Kenny in putting some of this stuff together.
They were there. The guys from Link's Diary were there.
So what the hell is this? There's it's like a credit card.
I think that's a memory stick with a load of images that are for media use for
so cool.
The day, which I imagine we'll put on Twitter and pretend that they're our own.
Scorecard and Ken Goodwin's business card. I love all your work, Sam. Keep doing what you're doing. Brilliant. That's a nice touch from Ken. What a really nice pack. But that just, looks like it's been a lot of effort in.
Yeah, let's draw a line under it now. There was a phenomenal amount of effort that had gone into recreating this on so many different people's parts. From Ken, the secretary, organising it and liaising with everybody that needs to do it. Dave had come in like a year and a half ago, and as soon as he kind of gets the job, it's like, oh, by the way, we're also doing this, which obviously he's still got to maintain an 18-hole golf course, but build this on top of it while they were doing it. He talks a little bit about that later on in the podcast about what they had to do, because a lot of these areas that we're playing through are heavy rough, or were heavy rough, and they had to manage that, to cut it down. It's not like you can't just cut that down to
fairway grade immediately. No.
There's actually a little bit of land. It's quite cool. There's a little bit of land on the first hole where it basically is the drive-in zone of the first hole, which used to be really heavy rough. They've got back, but it's actually under the water table. It's below sea level, only a tiny bit of the course. So they've constantly got a pump running.
To shift moisture away?
To remove that moisture away from there. And they've had to run that over time because now they've cut it down to fairway length.
Yeah, whereas before, because it's not really in play that bit.
It didn't matter so much when it was rough, but now they've really got to turn it on. So, there is really
amazing amount of effort then is the takeaway.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. And they're going to do 2 weeks now of celebrations to celebrate the very first Open, which was back in 1860, October 17th, which is going to be the date we release this.
Yeah.
Which is October 17th, 1860. 162
Unbelievable.
years ago.
I mean, it is seriously impressive. Like, hats off. Prestwick, for anyone that's not been there, it's if you can't quite picture it, it's not in the same scale of size as some of the other institutions that may have held the Open before. Prestwick feels like a small members club, generally speaking. I think that's going to take a lot of effort to pull that off. Like, wow. How do you want to run through this, Thomas? Because I've got some questions about the day, the event,
I think
the
we
course,
should probably,
the wicker baskets.
Yeah, we'll just run it chronologically, I suppose. But huge thank you to Western Gales in the morning that allowed me to go and get drenched. If any of you saw on our Instagram, I got absolutely hosed on before I went to
Teach
Prestwick.
you for being greedy. Western Gales is good, isn't it?
Western Gales was really, really good. And we say it a lot. It's hard to not say it. Scottish golf is just blessed. Like on that coast, for those of you who don't know, in a row, you've pretty much got Prestwick, St Nicholas, Prestwick, Troon,
Western Gales,
Dundonald, Kilmarnock, Barassi, Turnberry,
Irvine up there as well.
But
Turnberry about 20 minutes down the road.
Apologies if I've missed any.
2 courses there.
But you've got Robert the Bruce up there as well.
Yeah.
So it's like, it seems like all these places you go in Scotland have all got phenomenal, like a plethora of really good golf. And I'd not been to Western Gales. I just reached out and they managed to squeeze me in at like 7:40. I managed to skip around like 2 hours 10 minutes, front of the field, got drenched, shot about 1,000 over, but had the best time.
Yeah, tough.
So thank you to those. But then just headed across to Prestwick. Weather was quite nice, so I whipped the drone up and did a little bit of videography work, which hopefully we're going to release a film in the coming days.
Did you know where to point the drone?
No.
So you stood there just like aimlessly waving it around?
Well, I did a passover that I was filming. I was like, okay, I know there's a hole there, knows a hole there. And then I played it, and I was like, actually, what I filmed, they're not holes. Like, it looks nice.
You were just out in Elysian Fields filming the 5th and the 6th.
The reality is, like, if you don't know where the holes are, it's almost impossible because there's greens everywhere.
And it's
like
really crisscrossed. I'm
everywhere.
looking at the routing card now. So, when you think this is exactly as old Tom would have laid this out.
Yeah.
When the club was founded.
They've done this before. So they've done this event a few times before, but they've done it in a very rudimentary way where like a week before they cut it and they think the green's roughly here. This was the first time, I believe, they've put a lot of effort into it. And really,
got the greens to like green grade.
Well,
like,
they're not the standard of the 18. They had to create 5 greens because they used 6 of the original greens and one of them's double green.
Double, yeah.
So they had to create 5 greens. One of them, they just didn't think they could get the grass to standard they wanted in time. So they actually dug out that area and took some fescue from one of the part of the course and relayed it.
And then mowed that down to green grade
and then
instead.
got it down to green.
Unbelievable effort.
Some of the greens there, because some of the greens were pure fescue or like 90% fescue. Some of the greens they'd cut out the fairways were quick. Like the little fairway greens, they were quick. They had done it before, but this was the first time they'd put
like proper both barrels into it.
Serious, amount of effort into it. And they pulled it off, really did. But they talked about it. So, I mean, I'm sure we'll go through the holes here, but like, it's
12 holes. Let's start
manic.
the real
absolutely manic.
Let's start the real simple nuts and bolts of this. This is a 12-hole golf course.
Yeah.
And in 1860, they played it 3 times in a day. They did 2 laps, went for drinks at the Red Lion, and then played 12 more.
And all that.
What was the Red Lion like on the Tuesday night? You went there.
So I went to the Red Lion. That was
because it looks like the most standard of British or Scottish
that was
pubs.
The if you know post on Instagram. I went to the Red Lion for a pint. I'd convinced a friend of ours, Sam Cooper, that it was dog friendly and that he should bring his dogs, and he got kicked out the second he walked in. So I ended up there just being on my own, necking a pint while Celtic were playing whoever they were playing. Thank God that was on TV because I had to pretend I was watching it because I couldn't just sit there and stare at the ground, or there's only so long you can stare at your phone. But it's actually now, there's a pub quiz going on. They were watching a football. It's just a pub.
It's just a pub.
Like I was there going like, this is hallowed turf, but it's now just a pub.
Okay.
And
cool. Well, they went to the Red Lion. That's where
pub, but you wouldn't be in there. I kind of expected it to have like wooden doors.
This isn't going well so far. Disappointed at the green speeds on the ones they've implemented. Disappointed with the red line. It's all been a disaster.
Both of those things are false. But no, it's just a cool pub. But I don't know why. I kind of expected it to still be like the pub they met in when they decided to form Prestwick in the first place. It wasn't the Open.
It's cool to go there, though. It's like
they ate at the Red Line, I believe, when they had their lunch.
And that's where the enthused gentlemen met.
That was the 57 enthused gentlemen. Yeah.
So 12 holes, 3,799 yards, which would be short by Bond standards.
Yeah, it'd be short, but I tell you, you play with hickories and it ain't
It's
short.
a bit of a leveler.
It ain't short at all. There's a hole, I think I played, it was 10. So we played a shotgun start. It was the media day. The reason we were there is the media day. There's lots of different media outlets there. And to get everyone on the course, we started a shotgun start. Shout out Liv. Great idea. And
Prestwick's still learning from the Saudis.
yeah. So the 10th hole, which is 213 yards, bogey 4, we all, like, in our group, I had the David, the professional at Prestwick, at Fergus, writer at Golf Monthly, and Jamie Darling, Links Diary, Where Golf Began, faked being a 5 handicap, actually played like a scratch handicap. And not one of us made that green with a hickory. It's 213 yards away. And we all had to...
Well, first swing of the day with like just nothing in front of you when you look down on it. It's not really awe-inspiring. I mean, and it's a different... It's such a premium on timing when you swing a hickory golf club. It's just like, you've got to give it so much time in transition. I think modern clubs have got people lazy with being snatchy from the top and you can just wail on it. But you can't do it with hickories. You just got to pat everything. But... yeah. So can we talk about the course
record is in the Open is still held by young Tommy Morris,
47,
because they don't play the course much anymore. But 47. So it's not like people are going to be ripping this thing apart. The majority of the field played it with hickories, and it didn't get anywhere near it. Really, it's going to be.
You think it'll remain intact after the week?
Well, I pressed Ken a little bit. I'd like.
Do you know that would be the most legendary thing ever if someone break that?
Again, spoiler alert for later in the pod. The former professional has shot 44, but with modern equipment.
Yeah. So I just don't think that counts.
Asterisks.
So okay.
So that was interesting. But then you come to the card and it's 3,800 yards, minus a yard. And the first hole is
the thing on these cards with feet and inches.
Yeah, it's
what's that?
Well, that's how far long the hole is. 578
with feet and
yards,
inches.
1 foot and 9 inches.
What?
Yeah, they measured it to inches.
That feels like regression in the game.
You think we should still measure?
We need to put this picture up on our website. Yeah, like we've now dialed it back to rounding
just
distances
yards,
off.
Yeah,
we've got TrackMan and GC Quad.
ShotLink.
Yeah, but we're now measuring. We've actually rounded up to yards. So that's really cool.
This is that old Bernard Langer thing.
That's really good.
Where are you measuring from? The front of the plate or the back of the plate?
Yeah, he's like from the sprinkler. Yeah, front or back. Yeah, awesome. So the first two are mighty long, aren't they? Really, they're two. Well, I mean, obviously the second hole is the oldest hole in Championship golf. The 17th at Prestwick, which is the Alps.
I think it's the oldest remaining golf hole in golf.
Okay.
I think.
So it's even better than what I said.
Played.
Yeah. So it's like the oldest standing hole in golf.
I believe so. Because it was the second hole of the 12-hole course is currently the 17th hole at Prestwick. It's identical. There's nothing has changed.
Yeah. So you literally go from the same tee box on two.
Everything's.
So how do you get to the? This is going to be really hard, but we should add that we're going to post a film which will hopefully bring a lot of this to life if you haven't played Prestwick. But how do you get out to the? Do you play to what would be the 16th green from?
Yeah, from basically the cairn, which is the corner of the golf course.
Okay.
Where the monument is that says the first...
Which is just when you drive in, so it's not by the clubhouse, it's like right by the gates.
Yeah, it's right in the corner of the...
So you kind of play out and across. There used to be a practice
facility, like a chipping green or something like that.
And that's 580 yards with hickories.
Yeah. And young Tommy Morris, spoiler alert, got an eagle.
Yeah,
like a 3. Well, it's not an eagle, it didn't exist. But got a 3 on this 578 yard hole where, like... Literally, the most you can get out of a hickory is like 210 yards.
Well, when we did that pod with Dan Davis, with Clip, they all kind of categorised the best shots of the Open, didn't they? And the best was the young Tommy shot, third shot into the first green in 1864 or whenever it was, or whenever he won it. So,
but interestingly, not only did he get that 3 on the first,
didn't do it in the same round.
No, it's not in the same round. It was in a different Open, but he's also had the first ever recorded hole in one, which is on the 8th. And when we got to the 8th hole, you stood on the tee box for the 8th. You can't see the green. It's only it's a par 3, 168 yards, but it's kind of just over a dune, and the green runs away from you. And David, the pro, turns and says, "Oh yeah, this is the first ever recorded hole in one. It's young Tommy." You can't even hold the green. It was with hickories. I took a 3-iron.
No way.
Well, the 3-iron that I was playing
clique.
with, it probably had a loft of like a 6-iron now. But I took a 3-iron, and I think all of us taking 3 and 2 irons into that, and it's just like the guy is like, you can only akin it to like Tiger or Jack. Like he must have been. He was so head and shoulders above everyone.
I don't think this is history either, kind of just making kind of a big deal of it. He was clearly
shots.
just an unbelievable talent.
Yeah.
Like when you sit there and think 170 yards with a cleek to a front to back to green over a dune with a gutty ball.
Yeah, I mean,
under the gun of the Open Championship.
We're not even talking about the ball. I mean, like, we're playing with hickories. We're all playing with like
Pro V1s, socks, soft fills,
brand TV5s, and soft balls. And then
sorry, Taylor.
And then these guys are playing with featheries. This is before the gutty. Oh no, it was just the gutty just come in.
Gutty probably for a young Tommy.
Gutty had just come in because that's why he was gone across. But yeah, the gutty, the feathery, whatever they were playing with. Yeah, absurd stuff. So yeah, I mean,
talk me through just roughly how the course flows, because I can't imagine where the 12 holes go. There's six of the original green site. One of them doubles up. Where do the holes go? Just give me like a real sort of quick potted history of how I get round.
You're going to have some knowledge of Prestwick just for me to talk through this. But basically, the first hole runs down the coast, the whole line of the coast, really, from the coastal side of the property.
Back up almost beyond the 13th green.
From the monument on the left, and it goes, you kind of play a 3-shotter, 4-shotter, it's a bogey 6, a 4-shotter, onto the green, which is the current 16th green.
Bordered by those sleepers on the front right side.
It's kind of the back of the Cardinal is there, because it kind of backs onto the Cardinal. That's the 3rd hole, currently. Then you play the current 17th hole. Yeah. So the 2nd hole is the current 17th.
Got that.
Then you play the current 2nd hole, which is a par 3. So the 3rd hole is the current 2nd hole.
Okay, so that's an original. So
that's an original.
And there's no real change.
Which is interesting, because I was talking with Sam Cooper, who's also there, and if you'd have asked me to guess which holes were original, I would put my house on the first.
We talked about it. I was like, I don't think 2's an original.
And I would have put my house on the first.
Just pure guess of like, yeah.
Yeah, but the first is not a hole. They used to have a pitch and putt there.
Okay.
So
wow, so you play 17 and then 2, and those are holes that if you've played Prestwick you can picture.
Then you play 3 as it is now.
Exactly the same. So you play 2 and then 3. So you've basically played 3 holes on the spin that really haven't changed materially. No. That's the one with that is Cardinal. That's with the.
There's been some changes in bunkering and stuff. Like the Cardinal, that was kind of like an island. Like that whole thing was like waste area. But yeah, then you play.
But 3 is. So that's the 4th.
Yeah.
And you're playing to the original green. So you've got to go over both of those bunkers where then the fairway will rumples and falls into the green.
I hit a crappy drive. So
that simplified your choice with your second shot, I imagine.
It didn't, because the 9th hole of the 12-hole course has got a green in the middle of that Cardinal.
No way.
Bunker setup, yeah. So I couldn't get over. So I've hit a crappy drive with my
don't you make an excuse with the hickory if you hit a crappy drive?
No, it's fine. I've hit a crappy drive with my wood.
What were we saying about this earlier? What was it? Extreme ownership.
Extreme ownership, yeah. I hit a crappy drive with my wood.
Correct.
But I couldn't, if I'd have laid up, I'd have been laying up 60 yards, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But to go over those double set of bunkers, I'd have needed to hit like 190. So we all had marshals with us, right? Because it's so dangerous. They gave marshals to every group, and there's marshals on the dunes, and it's all. We'll talk about this in a moment, but the marshal was also a caddy at Prestwick, so he just basically acted like a 4 caddy on the way around, and he said, "Look, you're not going to get over that. So what I want you to do is I want you to take your mashie or your deep face mashie, because I had like 2 of them, and he's like, I want you to play to the 9th green in the middle." So I was basically playing to the 9th green,
which then gives you quite a severe loft for the 3rd shot. Then
so then I'm trying to hit like another one of those onto that onto the green down there.
But you're saying those bunkers have been kind of built up over time.
Yeah, I
because
believe
they are
just
like with a hickory club, they are absurdly penal hazard. Those things.
yeah, and they're
If you went in those bunkers, like you're pretty much in pocket.
well. Another thing with the hickories, I mean, I'm not a good hickory player, but like bounce is a relatively new thing with a wedge. So if you go into these bunkers, you've basically got 0 bounce.
You've got to clean them.
Yeah, so like
clean it,
you got to clean it, but you can't get it thin. So it's like if you get even remotely thin, you're 30,
Strike it
40 yards
pure,
down there.
yeah.
So like, I mean, bunkers were just like horrendous
Yeah,
hazards to be in.
2 or
like,
3 shots penalty.
Yeah.
So you laid up onto this little, like in that island between the 2 bunkers.
So I managed to do that. Go over the first bunker before the second bunker, and then you play to that the current 3rd green.
Okay.
5 is then an
so
offence.
then 4 you don't play, or what would be your 5th? You don't play that, then it takes you off elsewhere then. So 5 is a
then
long
a really
hole.
long par. It's like a bogey 5.
Yeah, there's no par on this
There's
card.
no
Can we
par,
stop
no.
saying par?
It's
It's
like
vulgar.
it's really hard. It's like a bogey 5, and that plays to like the current 13th hole, that long par 4. It's a crazy green with like a half pipey entrance, and so you play 5 and then 6.
So that's with a half pipe green.
6 is where it gets really interesting, because Ken talks about this later in the podcast. 6, when you play 6, you cross the 5th hole, the 11th hole, the 1st hole, the 10th hole, the 9th hole, the 7th hole, and the 3rd hole to play the 6th. You cross all those holes to play
That sounds
basically across
absurdly
the entire
dangerous.
width of the course. But you do it in a way that Prestwick doesn't play. So in Prestwick, there is only one shot that plays directly away from the water. That's the current 5th, the par 3, the Alps over the big hill.
You mean 6th?
On the current course. Yeah, on the 18-hole course.
Ah, yeah.
There's only one
That's
shot.
the only one that goes directly
plays
away.
directly away from water. So it's not really a
Away,
direction
yeah.
they play. Now the 6th hole goes completely across the whole width of the course in that direction, and you play to a double green with what is now the second.
Yeah, it's really difficult to explain. But there's basically an insane amount of crisscrossing that happens here.
Yeah,
like it's lethal. I can see why they've given you marshals.
Yeah, there was
like you'd get killed.
Yeah, there was a little zone in the middle that was being affectionately described as the killing zone because it's a little fairway that like I think 3 holes play into, and it was quite interesting. But because of health and safety and all the things that they've got to do now, they've put a hell of a lot of effort into making sure that's safe for everyone to play. So where they skipped around it in like an hour, when you've got 25, 30 people on the golf course, you do have to wait because you're waiting for people to play different holes. And the marshals were brilliant. They all had these LED lights that they'd like torches. They'd shine your direction because they thought about having flags. But if they wave green flags, that could be any number of people.
Yeah, so it's like, we've all got the green light.
Yeah,
let's
it's
go.
like red rag to a bull. Yeah, we'll all go. We'll all hit. So they had these like LED torches.
That's amazing.
Shine your direction to.
Like, there's no stone left unturned.
Short of issuing you with a hard hat, it was difficult to make any safer.
The bottom of the card, it says, in the case of a stymie, this card is 6 inches deep.
Now, I never got to the bottom of this. I'm sure I still don't think I know what it is, because I thought stymies were just stymies.
It's a wonderful tradition, but
It is a wonderful
I'm assuming.
You get to move it 6 inches?
Presume so. So. There's just a lot of thought. I think that's why I mention it. What did you get in terms of the wicker baskets? So obviously the wicker baskets that I've seen, these like nice brown baskets on the pins, typically associated with Merriam, but Merriam were not the innovators on this.
No. Well, I'll tell you what, actually. I actually filmed the talk beforehand that Ken gave to all of us in that room, and he talked a little bit about it. So if I cut to it now, then he'll give a better explanation than I will.
Thanks, Tom.
Another thing just to highlight before I finish is that everyone knows Merriam is famous for its basket flagpoles. But actually, we were using baskets long before Merriam were. And in fact, the architect who designed Merion, Mr. Wilson, came over to the UK for ideas before they were moving to the East Course in 1912. And he saw baskets here, and I think he saw baskets at another club as well. So we thought it'd be quite nice to recreate our basket flags again. So we've done that too.
So there we go. It was just something they did from day
I
dot.
haven't listened to the answer because you just said you're going to cut to it. But I'm just going to say, fascinating.
Yeah.
Would that be a fair reaction?
Yeah, it would. It was basically...
That's amazing.
Yeah, well, they just did it
Never
first.
knew that. So now we've got through like a fairly complicated run through of the course. What was your read on like how the holes played versus the context of
I'd say Old Tom
a fairly primitive form of the game with hickory equipment where, you know, I mean, the average golfer probably played pretty recreationally and not that often, you know, like...
Yeah. I'd say Old Tom was fairly sadistic.
Really?
I think, you know, he'd just been fired from St Andrews. He'd had his falling out with Anne Robinson. He came across to the West Coast. Oh, yeah, okay, I'll make a golf course. I'll show them. Because... I mean, it
sounds really difficult.
The second hole, which is now the current 17th, I mean, by modern standards, it's absolutely absurdly difficult. It's like what's it play off here? 385 yards. You play into a valley that's sort of surrounded by sand dunes. It's basically an amphitheatre of sand dunes, because then you play over the back of the amphitheatre, over a huge dune. And then the other side of the dunes, this massive sneaky bunker that you don't know is there unless you've seen it. And yeah, okay, it might be in a flat spot, and you might think, yeah, that's where I'll put a green. But like the fact that they built that course the way it was, and you know, they weren't using, arguably the course that I played would have been in far greater condition than it ever would have been during an Open.
Yeah,
because we've got modern greenkeeping.
There's some level of rough management. This thing would have been wild.
Yeah, I mean, when Old Tom laid it out...
Well, there's very little in terms of, you know, cutting equipment. You know, architecture as a topic is not really accepted until 1900 anyway, is it? It's like, you know, just really laying out green sites. There's clearly some thought, and I know Roger McStravick is a big proponent with Old Tom in saying, you know, it wasn't just a stomp and stick guy just sticking out 9 or 12 or 18 greens. Like, there was thought to the drama. But did you get any sort of real feeling of that, or did it feel like, you know, only playing it the once and it being this media day and seeing it, was it quite hard to see through that and try and get a picture of how he laid it out?
But if you look at the picture of how the course is laid out, there would have been far easier ways for him to use those green sites
in a less sadistic fashion.
Yeah, well, not sadistic, but in a less architecturally interesting fashion.
Yeah. There would have been easier ways to get people around the course.
Yeah, and he's decided, okay, if we play to here, instead of going to that green, which I can see from here, that's fine. What we'll do actually is go over that dune and then go to that green. So in that respect, he may have gone out and just found 12 green sides, but he still had to decide which tee box went to which green, which I suppose there is, I don't know, something like 18 factorial ways you could have done that, and he chose the way that he did, and it became the course it was. So to say that it was
12 factorial,
literally just 12 factorial, my apologies, but to say it was like stomp and stick is
no.
Is
I mean, look, this feels like it could go
disservice.
into some sort of nebulous navel gazing exercise here, thinking about Old Tom, but you can't help but wonder if being around St Andrews for so long must have felt like, you know, a fairly pedestrian layout, maybe, like quite flat,
this
quite
is
basic
so
up and
far
down. He
away
probably
from St Andrews.
It's miles, isn't it?
Because St Andrews, you basically work away for like 8 holes. You do a little bit of back and forth for a little bit, and then you work your way back. So it's kind of makes sense. You go to there, then you keep walking forward, then you keep walking forward, then you keep walking forward, and that's as far away from what
everything's
this is.
crisscrossing, isn't it?
Yes,
it's total non out and back.
I don't think there's a single hole on this course that goes in the same direction as the one before.
The current routing is way more out and back at Prestwick than what you've got on that card there.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, he may have been influenced by, the way that the old course was laid out, but it's certainly like it doesn't reflect it in a way of like he took inspiration from it. So I didn't think anyway. But
were there any kind of like talks or anything, any sort of keen sort of snippets or insights around that? I know Martin Ebert was there. Was there any kind of real intel around, further intel that you've not shared about the course? Not in terms of how they've restored it. I'm thinking more about the layout of it or anything like that.
No, not really. I mean, what was nice is Mungo Park was there, which was Willie Park Seniors.
Not the guy that won in like
not the guy that won
Musselburgh in like 1890 or whatever. No.
His namesake, who was the great grandson of Willie Park Senior.
Wow.
So
the first winner of the Open Championship,
won the first Open. So he was there, and he said a few words, which was very lovely, and he's very, very knowledgeable about it. He's done a lot of research into his family, and
he's a clubhouse architect. He designs golf clubhouses. Yeah.
Oh, he was a. I did not know that.
Yeah, I think he might live down near Cleve Hill. Fairly sure of that. I might be wrong. I don't know his address, nor would I share it. But I'd certainly spent some time at Cleve Hill. But no, that is. I mean, that's great. That's crazy. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Great. Did he play, or is he a golfer? Or
he did play. Yeah, he played.
Wow.
I didn't play with him.
What an honour.
But yeah, that it was an experience that, up there with the old course in reverse is just something that, there are certain things in life that if you wait long enough and try hard enough or are willing to pay enough money, you can achieve. If you ballot every time you have the opportunity to ballot for the old course, at some point you'll get to play it. Or if you wait and queue up, you get the opportunity to pay it. And
this is only going to be around for a few days.
Yeah, this is one of those things.
Like you're a very lucky boy to have got to go and done that.
Feel, honestly, I'm so thankful. I couldn't stop smiling, and I couldn't stop saying thank you to like everybody. I was like, I felt so honoured to be there, and I was just like, thank you.
You're
This
right,
is amazing. Like I was such a nerd. I was like, oh, thank you so much. This is amazing. And it's one of those things that, I mean, I did ask Ken and Dave whether it's something that they will think about doing in the future. I'll leave you guys to listen to that afterwards. I hope they do.
Sometimes like the less is more, though, isn't it? It's like, you've done it, I've not, and I sit here and think, well, it's quite nice to live it vicariously through you almost. I think.
I think in some ways,
and it looks like everything that I can only judge this based on the assets I'm looking at, and you talking about it. But a lot of places that try to pull something like that off, it could feel a bit kitsch or a bit contrived. And it sounds like the total opposite. It sounds like it was just a really well-run event, like it was really authentic in a lot of respects.
Yeah, I think they, I think they could have got it wrong.
Yeah.
I think they really...
Could have killed someone.
Well, it's still ongoing.
No problem.
They've still got another sort of 10 days of it. But, they could have done a half-assed job of it, and it wouldn't have been wrong. It still wouldn't have been wrong, but it just wouldn't.
No,
be
but it
as
looks
good as
so classy. Like it looks so impressive. All the assets, like you say, hearing you talk about it, the thought, the the choreography around that day just sounds brilliant. Obviously, there have been quite a few other notables there in terms of media day.
There's a few YouTubers there. Peter Finch was there.
I saw he won.
He won.
So I've seen he's been tuning up a little bit with his hickories out in Glen Eagles on a recent video. So he won the gross, did he? They didn't actually say whether it was gross. I mean, obviously he hasn't got handicap because he's a professional, so I don't know whether he won if he gross or net. I don't really know, but yeah, he took the prize. Our friend Sam Cooper got a bit of cut glass for a bird. Well, nice.
He had a 2.
Nice.
So had a little tumbler. That was good.
So what was the winning score then?
He's put that on his own social media, so that's
fair play. So he's going toe to toe with young Tommy's record.
Well, I'm not telling you if he's gone to toe to toe with young Tommy's record. I'm just saying that he won the prize on the day.
Did he with hickories?
He did not play with hickories,
but he won first prize.
He shot the lowest score on the day.
Remarkable.
I played in a shirt and tie.
No,
I actually think
the pod can't descend into chaos here.
I actually think that if you play golf post lunch, it was actually Martin Ebert that convinced me to keep my shirt and tie on, because we'd gone in for lunch, and he's like, "Holly, keep your shirt and tie on, come on." And I was wearing +4s anyway, and he's like, "Keep your shirt and tie on." And I was.
You wearing a black tie though?
I had a navy blue tie.
Navy blue, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I wasn't wearing black tie.
Could have worn your bloody Blackwell tie, couldn't you?
But I didn't actually. I mean, I don't know whether I was crap because of Hickory or crap because of the shirt and tie, but I didn't feel like it inhibited me too much. And I actually think that any time you play golf post lunch, it should be with
your full lunch as well. There,
I had a lunch there. Yeah, that was
like proper sit down jacket and tie lunch.
Absolutely,
I bet
splendid.
I bet that was amazing.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And they
one
serve
of the best in the business.
They serve. So whatever drink you buy,
they didn't go back to an 1860s menu. Or
I thought
they weren't serving like raw partridge and stuff like that.
But like in the smoking room in Prestwick, I thought it just because I ordered a beer, but like all the drinks are in like metal tankards as well.
Yeah, they do that anyway.
And because I ordered a beer before lunch, and then we had lunch and I played. Then I had to drive home, so I had a Coke before I drove home. I thought that'd come in a glass, but no.
No, it's served in a metal handle. It's epic, isn't it?
It's so good. And mine had like embossed on it like Prestwick 1923.
Yeah.
And it's like,
it's really cool.
So cool.
Really
so
cool.
battered up and like sort of misshapen from obviously all the love it's had over the last 99 years. So
unbelievable.
Cool.
Well, I'm very jealous. Sounds like it's been a brilliant day.
Yeah, I mean, I do understand how lucky I was, and I also understand that the 99.999% of people that listen to this podcast are not going to have the opportunity that I have, and I hope that the video that comes out enables you to experience it a little bit, because it's just amazing, and I wish more people were able to play this, but just because of the nature of it, it's only there for like 10 more days. It's just not going to be able to. So, if you get the opportunity to go, I know I've looked on Golf Club Atlas recently, and I know a lot of those guys are just driving up to walk it and just to see it. I know Tom Doak was over recently. He walked it just before it opened.
Yeah, 100%. Well, like if you couldn't get on the course, like 100%.
Yeah, there were some people walking it.
Maybe just stand in the middle of the kill zone, just.
Yeah, and there were some people walking it just before we teed off. They just come to see it, because it's hopefully not a once in a lifetime opportunity, but it's once every. The last time it was played was like 2005, so 17
yeah. I mean, the
years
next
ago.
sensible time to do it would be like 2060, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Like 200 years on, that would be a sensible, or 2050. The durations
175th or something like that. Yeah, maybe. But
yeah, what would it? 1857, I think, something like that.
1851. But yeah, so what we're going to do now is, and I apologise for we've just been
prattling on.
But with all these things, we just get excited about it. And what we're going to do now is we're going to roll into the podcast with Ken and Dave, and we sat down with them for about 25 minutes, and I just discussed what they'd done at Prestwick. So here we go. So we're sat here in Prestwick in the card room. Is that where we are? The card room of Prestwick.
That's right. Yep.
Overlooking the 12-hole course. First of all, guys, Dave and Ken, congratulations on what you've managed to achieve in this 150th Open year in reincarnating the 12-hole routing here at Prestwick. First of all, Ken, how did that come about? What was it you were trying to achieve when you brought back the 12-hole routing?
Well, it was really just the fact that this year was the 150th Open Championship being played. We enjoy having a party here and celebrating things. We didn't want to interfere with the R&A's celebrations of the 150th Open, which were taking place in July. The first Open was played on the 17th of October, 1860, so we thought October would be a good time for us to have our celebration to try and tie in with the date of that first Open. And the first Open was played over a 12-hole course, almost 3,800 yards. So we thought we will try and recreate that course. It had been done before, perhaps not as well. It's quite rudimentary in the past.
Yeah.
Just limitations of greenkeeping equipment and labour. And so it was sort of kind of about 3 or 4 weeks before, apparently, they would start cutting grass. Whereas this time we actually had time to plan and research and do that. And then Dave and his team got on and did their magic.
And managed to implement it. Is this like the 3rd or 4th time that this 12-hole routine is being brought back?
No, I think it had been done a few times in the past. The last time, I believe, was about 2005 when we did it. We certainly did it in 2001, which was the club's 150th anniversary. And then it was done a few years after that. It had been done before then as well. But as I say, it was really just a question. Perhaps someone went out with a hand mower and cut some greens, and you might have to go through some fairly heavy jungle to get there.
And Dave, you're fairly new to the club, and you arrive maybe a year and a half ago and get given this project. Was that fairly daunting or just quite exciting?
I feel it was quite exciting. I was looking forward to the journey ahead and to see how it panned out as a finished product.
And are you happy with it?
Absolutely.
Was it more intensive than you thought, or did it pretty much live up to what you thought it was going to be to try and get that 12 holes back?
I think certain areas like the 1st and the 12th fairway, that was under very heavy rough at the time. Yeah,
there's something about water or something there. Did I hear that? It's usually underwater?
Yeah, it's an area of the course known as the Goose Dubs, which was almost a goose pond, and that area does often flood over the winter. We actually have a couple of subterranean pumps that pump water away. So that was always a potential challenge if we'd had a really prolonged spell of heavy rain beforehand. But Dave had taken emergency measures, had the pumps running just to keep the water level as low as possible. So that's fine. And that it was an area of rough. It was managed rough there in the Goose Dubs, but we actually cut that back down to create fairway.
Yeah, and I think you did a really good job of that.
Yeah, we did a lot of cut and collect on there, and as we gradually got the heights of cuts down on it, we started to use a semi-rough mower. It was eventually cut with a cylinder mower. We'd also done some top dressing to try and smooth the surface.
Because that feels like a different sort of grass around that area as well. I imagine it's a bit more marshland grass than the fescue you've got on a lot of the course.
Absolutely, yeah. There's some of the coarser grasses like Yorkshire fog and ryegrass in that wetter area of the links, so it was quite challenging.
So I mean, that whole section there, that first hole, it's kind of, you've got a lot of that's fair weather exists already. You've had to sort of bring back that little bit at the bottom, and there's obviously a green there as well that you've had to put there near the tee off for the first, which is the green for the 12th.
Yeah, the 12th green. That was an area which is almost a sort of small practice ground.
Yeah.
So we had to try and keep people off that bit.
So how many greens did you have to bring back?
We had to bring back. We used 6 of the original greens were still in play for 7 of the original holes.
Yeah.
So there was 5 greens that we had to try and recover or create.
And there's some very interesting ones. I think the one that's in between the cardinal bunkers was quite an interesting green placement. That one, I'm sure when Tom was putting that in the ground, he was giggling to himself because that was there were some quite tricky greens there, weren't there?
Well, that one originally, the cardinal bunkers. We now have 3 bunkers that create the cardinal bunker system, as it were. But originally that was just all sand, and you had an island of grass, which was the green there. So that's a good hole. It's a good hole.
So what other problems what other things came up when you were trying to put this back together?
I think the area which is the 7th green. I remember doing a course walk with Ken and the 150th committee, and thinking, gosh, this is really, really heavy here.
Yeah.
Lots of coarse grasses, Yorkshire fog, ryegrass. I'm thinking, how are we going to make a green here? So I figured the best way was to take a turf cutter to it, strip an area off the size of a green and use some turf from
And
our driving range. The soil wasn't modified at all. It was just taking the coarser grasses off and putting some more finer grasses on there that would be suitable for putting on for the competition.
So how long are you considering keeping this 12-hole routing in play?
Our celebrations last for a fortnight.
And how long have you been building this? How long? When did you start?
We've been working on this over a year.
Yes.
Wow.
I think the first cutting of the rough to create the first and the 12th fairway was about this time last year.
That's right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of effort for 2 weeks, isn't it?
It's worth it.
I would agree.
You've just played it. It's great fun.
I mean, what was interesting, I thought, when we were out there today, I played it a few times before, and you can be on bits of that golf course and just not recognise where you are because of the way the routing is compared to the real routing. I mean, 6, I think you came up with a wonderful term, the kill zone, which was 6 is you get quite a few crossing holes across that little section there, don't you? Yeah. I think it's the second hole, the 6th hole.
Well, the 6th hole interacts with the 1st, the 5th, the 12th, 2nd, the 9th, possibly the 10th, the 7th, the 4th, and then you get to the green. So that's it.
And it's a shared green as well, isn't it? So
it's a double green. That's right.
So you've got quite a lot going on there, and I think as you cross those little sections there and you go through the duneland, I did find it quite difficult to kind of appreciate where I was compared to the original routing. I thought that was really, really interesting.
That may be how Tom Morris ended up designing the course like that. He maybe got lost halfway around, which is why it goes back and forward. Because, I mean, when he was originally walking around the land, the fairways wouldn't be cut or anything like that. He would just be walking over a dune system with probably covered in marram grass and sort of long grasses. There would have been sheep and cattle grazing on it, so they might have kept the grasses down. But, there was no definition there. I mean, it's quite a testament to old Tom having the eye to actually recognise, put a hole in there. That would be a good place for a green.
Yeah.
That'll give them a challenge.
And Dave, having worked on the original routing and seeing what old Tom was trying to achieve and the course he laid out, did it perhaps shine a different light on him in your eyes, on how his genius in what he was able to see? And because I mean, I walked around there and some of those green sites didn't leap out at me. I mean, they're there now and I can see that now you've mowed them. But did it alter your perceptions of him when you were doing all this work?
Definitely, and I've found that when I've walked it on my own in the evenings, I can stand back and appreciate his work. I mean, it's fantastic.
There was a lot of marshals there today. Are the marshals? First of all, why are they there? Who are they? What are they there to facilitate?
Well, the marshals are there to try and ensure that the golfers negotiate a safe round of golf. Spoke a few moments ago about the 6th hole, for example, and the interaction with lots of other holes. We really need to control play. You mentioned the killing zone, and on the second fairway, which is on the 18-hole course, it's the 7th fairway. So there are 4 tee shots all landing about the same point, and 2 of the tee shots are blind. So if everyone was hitting into that area at the same time, it'd really be quite dangerous.
Just sorry to interrupt. What would have happened in old Tom's day? Would they just have hit, or would there have been a system of...
Well, the very first Open, there was only 8 golfers took part, so there was 4. I think there would have been some form of marshals, whether they had flags or the like. There is a sign or a suggestion up on the wall in the smoke room next door from a member that suggesting that no group should start until the previous group have finished their round and gone to bed. And so obviously then they even recognised probably 2 on the course at any one time was a bit enough. But, so we've got the marshals. We've got a marshal walking with each game, a walking marshal. We've got 6 marshals dotted around the course who are, I suppose they're the playmakers in that they control the flow of play over the course. They've all got walkie-talkies so they communicate with each other. A new innovation this year, whereas in the past we've used flags, they've got LED torches,
which I thought worked really well.
worked really, really well. Yeah. So you get a green light when it's safe for your group to play, red light if you have to hold on, and it gets rid of the challenge if they wave a green flag, 3 different groups might see it and think it's directed at them. So the torches you can actually point at the group, and quite surprised how well that's worked. So that's been good. And
how many opens did you have with the 12-hole routing?
Oh, now you're asking.
Because at some point you had opens with the 18-hole routing, didn't you?
The 1882 was when we went to the 18-hole course. So the first 11 opens were for the championship belt, 1860 to 1870. There was a 1-year gap when we were trying to work out what to do, trying to involve other clubs. 1872, so there was probably about another 7 or 8. Might not even have been
of the 12-hole routing.
In fact, it wouldn't even been as many as that.
So a good few, though.
Yeah.
And they would have had quite a lot of spectators?
In the early days, there would be a lot of spectators, but not by modern standards.
Yeah.
You might be talking hundreds.
Yeah.
As opposed to thousands. And I mean, the last time the Open was played here in 1925 when there was crowd trouble. Crowd was probably only about 15 or 17,000.
That's still a lot, though, isn't
which
it?
a lot of people, but by modern standards is nothing.
Yeah. But it's still a lot of people on that parcel of land. It's quite easy to see, I think, having played that today, been out there and thinking about what it would have been like then and with spectators, that it's quite understandable that you would have asked not to have it again, because it's quite intense. There's not really much space to move around, and certainly before you move to the 18-hole routing, it would have been fairly packed on there, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there was ever any real issue on the 12-hole course, and the game had evolved in such a way that the 12-hole links of 3,800 yards or so just didn't cut it. And it had become more traditional to have an 18-hole golf course. And as the club had bought or leased additional parcels of land, they were in the position that they could extend the golf course and do it that way. But I think the 12-hole course did have quite a finite life cycle, as it were.
Yeah, it kind of just outgrew itself in a way. Yeah. The course record currently set by
young Tom, when he won the Open in 1870, shot 47 round the 12-hole course, and that, I think, for the time, that was the record. It wasn't beaten in the Open. Our old pro Frank Rennie in an event did shoot 44 when we recreated it a number of years ago. I suspect that was with modern equipment.
Yeah.
But 47 was the record by young Tom, including his famous 3 at the first hole.
Yeah. And I've played that, and I think I shot a 7 and was fairly happy on that.
That's pretty good.
7's
pretty
we played
good.
with hickories today. I think most of the field played with hickories today, and it's a different beast playing that with hickories.
Yeah.
I mean, I find in some ways, because it's wind, or when the wind blows, if you play with hickories, you can kind of just keep it lower. It kind of takes out the wind a little bit more. modern clubs. But
you must have had different hickories from me today.
Oh no, mine don't go off the ground, so I'm absolutely fine. Have you had a chance to play it, Dave?
I haven't, no. No, I'm hoping to do so over the next couple of weeks.
Oh, okay. Are you have you got a date in the diary to go out and play it?
Not yet, no.
Oh, you want to be leaning on Ken. You want to get something sorted here, but
He's not lacking encouragement.
do you think in the next 2 weeks before this all winds down, do you think that record is going to go?
We are having a members event this weekend, and members have the option playing either with hickories or with modern equipment. I think that some of our younger low handicap golfers who hit the ball out of sight, they get a good run at it. I think they could do that.
I think it's got to have an asterisk though. Surely it must have an asterisk.
That's 1 under 4s.
Yeah.
And there are a number of holes if you're using modern equipment, which are effectively par 3s.
Yeah, there's because we did the shotgun start, I kind of lose my bearings a little bit on the holes, but there's a 205 yard par 4.
Yeah, that's the 10th hole, which brings you up to our normal 15th green. So that that's easily reachable. Yeah, for those guys.
It is a par 4 with hickories though.
The thing was, par wasn't a concept back in those days. You just tried to take as few shots as you could. And then bogey came in. I suppose it's a bogey 4. You'd expected the club golfer to do it in 4 shots, but young lads they'll be able to hit that.
Yeah, no, I don't think that counts. I think they've got to have an asterisk there, unless it's done with hickories. I think it's because it's amazing to play that today and see. I mean, it's just so hard to hit those clubs, and the fact that he could go around, he must truly have been a truly outstanding golfer, and the whole family. And we've had Mungo Park here today.
Yep.
Give a few words before we went out, which is, let's get this one right. Willie Park Senior's great grandson.
Yeah.
And that's
only one great. I thought there was 2 greats, but I got it that wrong. Yeah.
Well, he corrected you, so
that's fine.
How's that been, having him here with the history and all the things that he's done?
That's been wonderful. I mean, Mungo's been here a few times in the past. A number of years ago, the R&A were doing a number of promotional films about the Open. So Mungo was here. Sheila Walker, who's the great, need to watch how many greats again. Something granddaughter of Tom Morris. And
of course,
they were being interviewed and filmed in this room. Yeah,
of course.
Yeah. And so Mungo's been here a few times, and I just thought, what a wonderful opportunity to invite him up today. Because he has a keen interest in the history of golf, both of his eminent ancestor, but other golfers as well, and golf in Musselburgh, which is where Willie Park hailed from.
Well, his namesake won an Open as well, Mungo Park.
That's right.
Which would have been his great uncle or something along that. That was really interesting. I mean, to have, I suppose that went against the grain a bit when Willie Park won here, because obviously it was set up by Prestwick with old Tom.
I think everyone expected Morris to win.
Yeah.
He knew every blade of grass in the golf course. He'd laid it out. And it might have been a bit of a slap in the face for the genteel people of Prestwick, and possibly St Andrews as well. Musselburgh was a mining community.
Yeah.
They might have looked down their nose a wee bit at the folks from the east. So for someone to come and sort of win this new competition, who knows? But honour was restored the following year.
But it's a tremendous thing that you guys have done. Just bringing it back to the agronomy a little bit, Dave. What bit are you most proud of out there that you've managed to achieve, that you looked at and thought, well, this is going to be really difficult?
I think the first and the 12th hole really plays that's in play, and it is the way it is. And also, I think the 7th, the area that I spoke about before, because that was a little bit wet in spots. But it's really, really nice to see the baskets open and
that was such a
people really
lovely touch,
enjoying
the
it.
baskets. When you think about the rough management that you've had to do, are you going to now sort of manage that a little bit lower and keep it shorter, or are you just going to let that go back once the 12-hole course is gone?
We spoke about this recently, and I think it would be nice to maintain some of the areas that were quite heavy.
Yeah.
The first to 12th fairway, because it would be nice if we ever had to do this again, to be able to turn it round in 1 or 2 weeks rather than a full 12 months.
Yeah.
I think that would be really, really good to do.
Because
so.
the more you let it go, even if you're going to wait 5 years, 10 years before you do it again, it's going to take longer and longer and longer, isn't it? So if you can maintain it, I suppose that would be better for you.
I think the greens that were cut out of fairways, they're very, very good botanically. They're all fine fescue grasses.
Yeah, they're quick.
And it's really, really easy just to take the height to cut down, a little bit of top dressing in the lead up to any event we host in the future. Is that
the benefit of having like a predominantly fescue base?
Absolutely.
What is it that allows you to be able to? Because I think a lot of our lessons do like this sort of part of it. What is it that allows you to do that with fescue that doesn't allow you with other grasses? That you can just. Why is it so sought after? I
mean, fescue's got such a nice fine leaf. You could mow that at a higher height to cut. The ball just rolls across it really, really well. Nice and true and nice and firm surface.
Yeah, and keep it more sustainable, I suppose.
Absolutely.
But what I think you've achieved here over this, it's the start of the celebrations now, and what you're going to do over the next 2 weeks is absolutely fabulous, and it's such a honour that I'm able to come up here and play this 12-hole course and speak to you chaps. What have you got for the next 2 weeks before you wrap it up and you're done with it?
Well, tomorrow we have got an event. We've invited the captains of all the clubs or courses that have hosted the Open in the past, not just the ones that are in the current rota, but all the clubs that have hosted the Open. So we're having a day's golf with them tomorrow, 2 rounds, nice lunch, a dinner in the evening. Then Friday, Saturday, Sunday we have an event for the members, the Warren Trophy. We do have the trophy. The last time it was engraved was 2005. I think there's only a couple of names on it because it was only played for a couple of times, so it's been sitting waiting to be brought back into play. White. So we're going to play for that over the weekend.
And what's the format of that?
It's just going to be a medal round, and they'll get 2/3 of their handicap. Handicap index. We haven't had it sloped or course rated yet.
So you can't put it on WHS?
No. So it's non-qualifying. And then on Monday, the 17th of October, the anniversary of the first Open, we are having a triangular match. The RNA, the Honourable Company of Edinburgh Golfers, and Prestwick, they were the 3 clubs that paid for the claret jug. So it seemed quite appropriate to have an event including those 3 clubs. Again, a couple of rounds and nice dinner in the evening. Tuesday, Wednesday, we have made the course open to visitors to come and play a couple of rounds, lunch, access to the archive, and a tour of the clubhouse.
I mean, that's
explaining the history of the club.
That's amazing on its own, because I've seen some of your archive stuff, and it's not, your archive is more document based, I suppose.
Correct. Yeah.
And I mean, just to give the listeners a bit of a taste, what type of things have we got in the archive?
Well, we've got some open scorecards. 1864 winning scorecard, Tom Morris, and then all the scorecards from 1865, 66. We don't have 67 for some strange reason. 68, which was Tommy winning his first Open, age 17. 69, his first hole-in-one in the Open. And
I played that today. He had no right even getting the ball in the green, let alone getting the ball in the hole. That's a really tricky par 3, that, isn't it?
It is a tricky hole. So, we've got a lot of stuff like that from the Open. We've got the invoice for the original challenge belt, for the claret jug that we can show people. We've got our minute book, which before the second Open, the extract that says henceforth the event will be open to all the world, rather than just being an invitation event for the caddies to play in. So yeah, I think we've got a variety of stuff that we can show people.
I think what you've done is absolutely fabulous, and I can't commend you guys highly enough for what you've managed to achieve out there. And Dave, the work you've done in making that course play as well as it did today is exemplary. So you should be very, very proud of yourselves. What you've done out there is brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, chaps.
Thank you.
Watch
Thank you.
this.